Hey guys, Rob from the Off-Grid Tiny House, just outside here, and I was during that thunderstorm in my last video there, it got me really thinking about, you know what, I really need to think about where is my tiny house gonna get water from. And I've always wanted to do rain catchment because that's part of the off-grid lifestyle. And what I'm thinking about doing, guys, is if you guys see this, see how this rim here is kind of black looking compared to the white here? Well, that's the aluminum cap, which is my roof on the tiny house. And I plan on doing some type of eave trough, and what I'm going to do is just screw the eave trough or hire it done right just underneath this black section here, and have it run the entire length of the tiny house. Now obviously when that happens, I'm going to have to lose this deflector, and that one can actually stay. And as you can see, my solar panel setup would have to be taken down as well. So now that I'm kind of switching over to the flat panels, that's obviously another good reason that why this should go as well. Another good reason why going the flat route is probably my best bet. Now the only thing is, where my door is here, we have this section here. See these little bolt pattern here? That's going to be an issue because that sits up past the tiny house a bit. So I don't know how big of an issue that's going to be, whether I have to stop the eave trough here and then continue on this side for the rest of the way with two separate ones. I do not know. I'm not a rain or not a eave trough specialist, if there is such a thing, or a roofer for that matter. Definitely not a roofer. But yeah, I want to run the entire length with a piece of gutter or eaves trough, and it's just going to be screwed and fastened right to the tiny house. This is 1-inch thick wood, and I obviously use some type of washer screws with rubber on them so that if they fill up, obviously they're going to be waterproof. And then I have that gutter guard purchased, though it's only enough for one side of the tiny house. And yeah. I'd have to buy more for sure. But like I say, I don't think I'm gonna get a ton of leaves and stuff. Gutter guard's really good so you don't have to clean out your gutters. But in this area, I really don't have a lot of tree action going on. The front of the tiny house, I'm not gonna put gutter on, simply because probably be a waste. And then eventually, when I get my big ugly aerial sold, I want to buy a flat aerial and mount it directly to the front of the tiny house there, and that will be the aerial for free television. And this side of the tiny house doesn't have as many issues as that side with the door. I can easily run eave trough even above this gutter here, above the window. But as we come down to the rest of the tiny house, we see there's my fireplace exhaust, and then we get into trouble. Right where my wires go in is pretty much where I want the gutter to be, and obviously the other part of the solar setup. So when I switch to flat, I'll have to probably seal this hole and come in underneath and around the gutter system somewhere. Or even at the back of the tiny house if I had to, I guess. But that's my plan, guys. And obviously, the gutter system is going to help multiple ways, guys. I'm going to be able to capture my own drinking water for, well, it's not really, I'm not going to be drinking this water actually. It's going to be for showers, for washing stuff, and that's about it. And I'll get into the filter system and all that later, but basically I've had issues with my setup because as rainwater runs down the side of the tiny house, it gets to about here and it would roll underneath the tiny house and get this insulation wet and stuff like that I had underneath there. So I added a little extension of cheap aluminum here as a drip edge, so the water would run hopefully off and not roll back up underneath and get my insulation wet. It's helped, but now with a full length of a gutter system or eave trough, whatever way you want to call it, I think that will solve a lot of issues and I will be able to capture rainwater for my purposes. So far so good on the propane tanks. Haven't tested these yet for leaks. This guy's still been off since all the way back when we put them in. I do want to add, and my dad said this as well, I have some more of this aluminum angle iron. I do want to take one up on an angle here as a secondary support and run an angled piece, mount it somewhere here, just as an extra precaution to hold the weight, because I only have this tank full at the moment. This one is still empty, but still relatively heavy. So obviously want to run some kind of angle iron going up and into here somewhere, just as extra support to take the weight of these tanks. So there you go, guys. A little update for you guys. I did a little more spray foaming because I had the spray foam can. I think I mentioned that in that video when I did that. But anyway, so far so good. I'll see you inside.